And it all started in February of 2014 when Russia invaded Crimea. Do you remember this time? It was 2014. President Obama was president, and he decided to make Joe Biden his point man for the Ukraine, which really meant that Biden would be on the phone with Ukrainian leaders 2 or 3 times a month, and then he flew to Ukraine and he visited 5 times. So he's talking to these guys all the time between 2014 and 2017. In fact, Foreign Policy magazine says no one in the U.S. government has wielded more influence over Ukraine than Vice President Joe Biden. Now, that's true. Now, just a month after this happens, this guy, remember him? He's the friend. He's the guy who is part of this investment house. 1 month later, there is a meeting with Joe Biden and this guy at the White House. Now, we don't know what the partner at Rosemont Seneca was doing at the White House and what they were meeting about. But I'm sure it was probably something just like cookies and had nothing to do with anything about the Ukraine. However, coincidentally, 5 days later, we had an event. 5 days later, Joe Biden arrives at the Ukraine to meet with all of the leaders. Now, this is a high-level meeting with Ukrainian officials, and he brought with him very specific plans. And these plans were going to guarantee and assist the Ukrainian natural gas industry with $1.8 billion. Now, this was something that would guarantee the stability of the Ukraine and help them with their energy. Part of the energy portion of the program reads, quote, U.S. technical experts will help Ukraine develop a public-private investment initiative to increase conventional gas production from existing fields to boost domestic energy supply. Well, you know what's weird is we had 5 days later the $1.8 billion. But what's really weird is we sent the experts in as well. Because do you remember Burisma, owned by this cat who's so bad he can't even come to America? Burisma, again, is the largest natural gas company. So they wanted a piece of the $1.8 billion, sure, but they needed some experts on how to figure out how to get that gas out of the ground. And so who is invited in? This guy, Hunter. This is Devon. Devon is made a board member. Isn't that great? By the way, that happened the very next day after the $1.8 billion. Now, just 3 weeks later, somebody else, another expert from the United States arrives, to help them figure out how to pull gas out of the ground. Hunter Biden. Now, the combined experience on gas between these two is 0. But he was on the board, and he's still on the board. Burisma announced these appointments publicly. U.S. media reported on it, but it's no secret. Nobody really cared because it's the Obama White House and they can do no wrong. But there was a pattern here with Biden, and whether it's meetings with foreign leaders in Washington or traveling to foreign capitals, business opportunities and deals magically materialize for Hunter's companies. Isn't that weird? And just what kind of company was Hunter Biden and Devon Archer joining with this one? Well, Burisma, if I may say, was described by a journalist, James Stafford, who covers the energy industry. He said, quote, Burisma fails to pass the most basic due diligence check. Its registration documents are impossible to run down. It publishes no asset information or financial records, nor does it release any audited financial statements. The complete lack of transparency means that anyone interested, including potential investors, must rely solely on press releases about Burisma's future plans and intentions. In other words, it's exactly what you would think a very dangerous oligarch would set up. Now, Hunter Biden and Devon Archer joined Burisma, the board, coincidentally, right before the British government decided to freeze the assets of this guy. $23 million. He was the founder of Burisma. So they froze it. Now, 9 months later, the British government finally gave up and unfroze the accounts because they couldn't get the Iranian prosecutors to even cooperate. Gee, I wonder why. Now, after Hunter Biden joined the board, the company's owner, remember this guy? You know what's crazy? He was suddenly off the no entry to the U.S. ban. He could get visas all he wants. He could come to the United States. Those all disappeared. He became, Captain America. He's fine. The visas disappeared, but there was something else that disappeared. Oh, yeah. The $1.8 billion loan. Where did it go? Well, that's the sticky wicket here. As the United States paid it, but we had to put it in to a bank. And, well, we had to put it into the biggest bank in the Ukraine. And so we did. It's owned by this guy.